Welcome to the channel, That Retired Guy. My name is Darrell and I'll be your host as we take a look at life in retirement. Now you can call me That Retired Guy, but my favorite name is Dad or Grandpa. And as most of you know, life in retirement is all about spending time with the kids and the grandkids. Now in this episode, I'm going to be talking about a little project that I took on with the grandkids. You know, instead of vegging out in front of the TV or playing video games all day. This episode is also a special nod to my followers, who number now over 40. Thanks for your suggestions and your comments. Many of you have asked to see the things that I'm actually working on. So, well, this vlog's for you. Now, as I've mentioned in earlier episodes, my strategy in dealing with these lockdowns is just to keep busy. Now, curbside pickup is kind of making things a little bit more difficult. It's hard to get into the hardware stores to do a little bit of shopping, but c'est la vie. Now, many of the projects that I'm working on are actually DIY projects for my son. But in this case, I decided to enlist the help of my grandkids, play a little bit of Mr. Fix-It. You see, like most kids their age, a lot of their time is taken up playing video games, especially during these lockdowns. I mean, they can't even go out and play with their friends. Now, video games have gotten a bit of a bad rap because, I mean, they're antisocial, but even that's changing. I mean, they can now team up with their friends to play some of these games online. But you really don't develop any real life skills, and most of these games take place in like imaginary worlds, so not much practical use to them. That's why I'm always looking for a chance to spend some time with the grandkids and give them some real life skills that they could use. I mean, in the past, we've done things like building birdhouses, coffee tables, doll houses, learning how to fish. I mean, even Grandma is spending time teaching them how to cook their favorite foods and sew and cook and that sort of thing. I mean, food and clothing and shelter, these are all the kind of skills they're going to be able to use in the next apocalypse. So anyway, I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great if I could teach my grandkids how to fix things? You know, take apart machines, put them back together. That'd be a handy skill to have. Now, this is something that came naturally to my youngest son. I mean, we had a friend that worked for the phone company back in the day, and he used to bring home old discarded phones, and we'd give them to my son to play with. Well, he didn't really play with them. He mostly just took them apart and put them back together again. You'd go into his room, and there'd be phones all over the place in different stages of assembly. So that's what he did with them. So I kind of think it comes naturally to our family. So I say, hey, sweetie, how'd you like to come and fix that power washer with me? You know, the one that's been in the garage that's never worked. She says, okay, but let me finish my video game first. Anyway, so the game's over, off we go. Now, this power washer has been a problem since forever. It never dispensed soap. I mean, it's now spraying water out from inside of the unit, so much so that it's lost its pressure. I mean, you can't really call it a pressure washer if it doesn't have any pressure. It's just like a washer. Anyway, I described the problem to my granddaughter, and we're taking it apart. See what's wrong with the thing. Now, taking it apart's not an easy task. I'm getting her to remove all these screws everywhere we can find them, but very quickly we've come across these two tabs that neither of us can figure out how to remove. Now, I'm prying away with a big screwdriver and banging away at it, but nothing. Now, we take a break, and I sign on to YouTube to see if anyone has posted a YouTube video on how to work on this thing. Nothing. Well, I'm just about to abandon the whole project. I'm thinking, what a failure. What am I teaching my grandkids here? I shuffle back into the workshop, take one last desperate look at the wreckage lying all over the workbench. Then I notice these two screws. Somehow we had missed them before. So we start to turn on these screws, and what do you know? The tab is starting to come out. Well, it turns out that's the trick. Now, as a side note to all you budding fixer-uppers out there, if you're looking for a how-to video on a Simonized power washer, you're not going to find one. But guess what? We just made one. You're welcome. So we get it all apart, we discover the problem. You see, the seal is broken on this roller valve that's inside the unit. Now, I don't know if that's the technical name for it. I mean, that's what we call it, a roller valve. But anyways, we take the thing apart, and there it is. Now, you see, I had purchased this part in advance because, I mean, there's no other plumbing parts inside this unit. It had to be the roller valve that was going to be the problem. Now, the thing is, they don't actually supply parts for this older model anymore. So I took the chance and bought what looked like the same part from a newer model. Well, Turns out they're not the same. So being good fixer-uppers, we adapt our plans. So we simply replace the broken O-rings, using the new ones that came with the new part. I mean, the roller valve, that's not the same, but the O-rings, they're exactly the same. Now, it's just a matter of reversing the whole process to put the thing back together again. Now, my granddaughter takes to this like she was born with a wrench in her hand. Here she goes, slide a couple of those tabs back in. Get this handle back on there, and we're going to need to put some screws in to get that on. And look at her handle this drill driver. No fear. And without too long, Bob's your uncle, it's all done. Now it's time for the big test. So out to the garage we go. We hook up the water line, plug it in, flip the switch. Oh my God, there's water shooting everywhere. It's coming out of the hose reel. It's shooting out of the connection to the power washer. It's soaking everything. But wait a minute. It's not shooting out of the roller valve. We fixed it. How about that? Job well done. Well, my grandkids are laughing like crazy, and I'm thinking, yeah, now doesn't that feel good to fix things with your own hands? I mean, this is a real good life lesson. Then I noticed they're pointing at the machine. I look down in the middle of all this spraying water. There's smoke starting to billow out of a newly fixed power washer. Now this is a horrible smell of burning wires and a cloud of billowing smoke. Oh my God, what have we done? I reached for the switch and I cut the power. Well, needless to say, the power washer is no more. Or as Shakespeare is wont to say,
alas, power washer, I knew it, Horatio. A tool of most infinite pressure, of most excellent fancy. It hath borne me on its back 1,000 times, and now how adorned in my imagination it is.
Now, it was a cherished member of our family. It led a good but troubled life, went out with a blaze of glory. Now, I'm sure the life lessons in this story are many and varied. Well, I'm actually not sure what they are. If you want to leave some of them down in the comments section, I'd appreciate that. Anyway, we had a laugh, and in my books, that's better than playing video games anytime. And oh, Simonize, my grandkids and I thank you. This is our ode to a power washer. Now, if you like that story, be sure to like and subscribe. See if we can get those numbers up over 50. And until next time, live your best life.